Good morning to all of you students. Today I would like to discuss one of the very important subjects, real analysis, which is very much useful to students of BSc. So what is real analysis? Real analysis means analysis of real numbers. Most of you will be knowing what are real numbers. Everybody will be knowing real numbers are infinite. So the biggest set of numbers is real numbers. Set of integers, set of rational numbers, set of irrational numbers, they are all subsets of real numbers. So what is this real analysis? So in this real analysis, right from the beginning, you have been learning in school days many points, but you do not know why it is happening so. Now these details you will be learning one by one. So I go to the next slide. Algebraic structure. A non-empty set with one or more compositions. Compositions are nothing but operations. Defined on it is called an algebraic structure. So a non-empty set with one or more operations defined on the set is called algebraic structure. For example, take set of real numbers, addition, multiplication. So this is an example of algebraic structure. Likewise, take set of rational numbers, multiplication, and this is an algebraic structure. Likewise, set of natural numbers with star represents multiplication. So it is also an algebraic structure. If you see, in the first set we have a set of real numbers, addition and multiplication, two operations are there. Whereas in second and third we have only one binary operation. So whether two operations or one operation, in any case it is an algebraic structure. Now I am going to define ordered field. What is an ordered field? Let capital R be set of real numbers and plus and dot are two binary operations, namely plus stands for addition, dot stands for multiplication. Then the algebraic structure R plus dot are said to be ordered field if it satisfies the following axioms. So the algebraic structure R plus dot is said to be an ordered field if the following properties are satisfied by that set. So the field axioms, we begin first. Addition axioms. So A1, closure law of addition. So you must have already learnt in your second year what is the closure property. So similarly, for all a comma b belong to R implies a plus b belong to R, means addition. A2, commutative law of addition. So, commutative law you are already familiar to. For all a comma b belong to set real numbers R implies a plus b will be equal to b plus a. That means commutative. B is added to A is added to B. That means same thing. Third one, A3, associative law of addition. For all a comma b comma c belong to R, a plus b plus c is equal to a plus b plus c, and this is associative property of addition. A4, additive identity of R. So, what is additive identity in set of real numbers? For all a belong to R, 0 belong to R. So, for all a belong to R, there exists 0 belong to R such that a plus 0 is equal to 0 plus a is equal to a. If this property is satisfied, then that 0 is called additive identity. The element 0 is called additive identity. So, fifth axiom A5, additive inverse of R. For all a belong to R, comma b belong to R, such that a plus b is equal to b plus a is equal to 0. So, there are two numbers a and b such a manner that a plus b and b plus a both will be equal to 0. Then that number b is called inverse of a. The number b is called additive inverse of a. So, b is nothing but minus a. So far we have discussed additive axioms. Now, multiplicative axioms. So, same properties with multiplication. So, additive properties denoted by A1, A2, A3, A4, A5. Likewise, multiplication properties are denoted by M1, M2, so on. So, first M1, closure law of multiplication. So, already we have discussed closure law of addition. Now, this is closure law of multiplication, and you must know for all a comma b belong to R implies a dot b belong to R. So, this property is called closure law of multiplication. Now, coming to M2, commutative law of multiplication. For all a comma b belong to R implies a dot b is equal to b dot a. So, this is commutative law of multiplication. So, similarly, whatever you have done for addition, same thing you carried out for multiplication. M3, associative law of multiplication. For all a comma b comma c belong to R, a dot b dot c is equal to a dot b dot c. So, you take b multiplied to c and multiplied by a is same as a multiplied to b multiplied by c. If these two are identical, then associative law of multiplication is satisfied. Now, M4, identity law of multiplication. For all a belong to R implies 1 belong to R. So, a is an element of R and there exists 1 belong to R such that 1 dot a is equal to a dot 1 is equal to a. If this is satisfied, then that specific element 1 is called identity element and then one is called multiplicative identity. So now we are discussing ordered field. So we have discussed various additive properties. Now we have discussed various multiplicative properties, and then M5, inverse property of multiplication or inverse law of multiplication. For all A belong to R, A not equal to 0, there exists B belong to R such that A dot B is equal to B dot A is equal to 1. So for any non-zero element of real numbers R, there exists an element B belong to R such that A dot B must be equal to B dot A, and that must be equal to 1. 1 is nothing but multiplicative identity. So if this property is satisfied, then the element B is called multiplicative inverse of A, and B is denoted by A inverse. So multiplicative inverse of A is denoted by A inverse. Additive inverse of A is denoted by minus A. So all the additive properties are listed out, all the multiplication properties are also listed out. Then distributive law, this is third one. Addition is first, multiplication is second, and distribution is third one. So distributive law, what is this law here? Distributive law combines multiplication and addition. For all ABC belong to R implies A dot B plus C is equal to A dot B plus A dot C. If this identity is satisfied for all elements of real numbers R, then we say distributive law is satisfied. So then if additive properties, multiplication properties and distributive properties are satisfied, then R plus dot is called ordered field. Now there is order axioms. So there are lot many numbers, real numbers. How do you order them? Ordering. So order axioms, this symbol denotes greater than. For all AB belong to R, exactly one of the following holds. If A and B are two real numbers, these three, one will be true. A must be greater than B, A must be is equal to B, and A must be less than B. One should always be true for any two real numbers This law is called trichotomy law. So O2, second property. For all A, B, C belong to R, A greater than B and B greater than C implies A greater than C. This is a law. For any three real numbers A, B, C, if A is greater than B and B is greater than C, automatically A must be greater than C. This is transitive law. And third, monotonic law of addition. For all A comma B belong to R, A greater than B implies A plus C greater than B plus C. For all C belong to R means A, B are elements of real number set, and A is greater than B implies A plus C should always be greater than B plus C. This for any C belong to R. 4. Monotonic law of multiplication. For all A comma B comma C belong to R, A greater than B and C greater than 0. So there are three real numbers A, B, C, and A is always greater than B and C is a positive value, implies this is always true. A dot C will be greater than B dot C. Right, my dear students, now I will be discussing some questions on real analysis. See here, these numbers you are already familiar to and you have been using right from your school days, but there is so much to know about these numbers. See here, the question is, define a rational number and show that A root 2, B root 3, C root 5, D log 2 base 5 are not rational numbers. Right? Is the question clear for everyone? First you have to define what is a rational number, and then you have to prove that root 2, root 3, root 5 and this log 2 base 5 are not rational numbers. Solution. Any number which can be put in the form P by Q where Q not equal to 0 is a rational number. So, if you express any number in the form P by Q where P and Q are integers, but Q is not equal to 0, and that number is called a rational number. So, the examples are familiar to you. See this, 3 by 7 is a rational number, minus 5 by 2 is a rational number, 0 by minus 3 is also a rational number, 6 by 1 is a rational number, etc. Many more rational numbers are there. So, all these rational numbers are in the form P by Q. Now, you take first question. Let, if possible, root 2 is a rational number. Actually, we have to prove that root 2 is not a rational number. Let us assume that root 2 is a rational number. So, here, so root 2 can be expressed as P by Q. So, let read root 2 is equal to P by Q. This P by Q is actually here. Let, if possible, root 2 is a rational number. So, let root 2 is equal to P by Q where P and Q are prime. Prime in the sense there are no common factors to P and Q to each other, and Q not equal to 0. So, root 2 is P by Q, P and Q are prime, and Q is not equal to 0. Suppose you square the equation on both sides, then we have 2 is equal to, because root 2 is equal to P by Q, squaring on both sides, what do you get? 2 is equal to P square by Q square. That implies I can rewrite this as P square by Q is equal to 2Q. P square by Q is equal to 2Q, which is impossible. This expression is impossible. Why? Because LHS is a fraction. So, P square by Q is a fraction. Since P and Q are prime to each other, so are P square and Q. So, when P and Q are prime to each other, P square and Q are also primes. So, therefore, P square by Q is also a fraction. But coming to RHS, RHS is 2 multiplied to Q, which is an integer. So, fraction is equal to an integer. This is impossible. Thus, we have a contradiction at this point. This contradiction happened because we have taken root 2 as a rational number. So, therefore, root 2 is not a rational number. Hence, root 2 is not a rational number. So, that is how you have to prove root 2 is not a rational number. Likewise, now I am leaving question B and question C for you, where how to show root 3 is not a rational number, and also how to show root 5 is not a rational number. But I take last problem, D. D is log 5 base 2. I think so. Yes, log 2 base 5. So, if possible, let log 2 base 5 is a rational number. We are to prove that log 2 base 5 is not a rational number. But we are taking that if possible log 2 base 5 is a rational number. Then what happens? So, because log 2 base 5 is a rational number, it can be expressed in the form P by Q, where Q not equal to 0. P, Q are prime to each other. That means P is not divisible by Q and Q is not divisible by P. Therefore, if you remove this logarithm, you will get 2 is equal to 5 power P by Q. That implies 5 power P is equal to 2 power Q. If you must be knowing powers. So, when 5 power P by Q is there, you can rewrite it as 5 power P is equal to 2 power Q. 5 power P is equal to 2 power Q is impossible. Why? That is the question. Can anybody answer? Here 5 power P is equal to 2 by Q is obtained by taking log 2 base 5 as a rational number. Because LHS you are raising 5 to power P. So that must be in terms of 5. Right side 2 is raised to power Q. So it must be an even number. Since LHS will end in 5, whereas RHS will end with an even number, not 5. So therefore 5 power P cannot be equal to 2 power Q. This is because of our assumption that log 2 base 5 is a rational number. Thus, we have a contradiction. Hence, log 2 base 5 is not a rational number. Right? So, now we have solved a problem where we have shown root 2 is not a rational number and also log 2 base 5 is also not a rational number. Remaining two problems given to you and you have to solve them. So, let us go to the next slide. So, take this problem here. Prove that there is no rational number whose cube is 3. You have to prove that there is no rational number whose cube is 3. Normally, the standard procedure is, if you are to prove that it is not something, you always assume that it is that. We are always assume that it is that something and then come to a contradiction. Here, if possible, let P by Q, what is that you have to prove? There is no rational number whose cube is 3. Suppose there exists a rational number whose cube is 3. If possible, let P by Q, where P and Q are integers prime to each other and Q not equal to 0, be a rational number whose cube is 3. So, there exists a rational number P by Q such a manner that this cube of this rational number is 3. That is assumed. So, what will be the next step? So, that means P by Q whole cube is 3. So, P cube by Q cube is 3. As a next step, P cube by Q is equal to 3Q square. You can rewrite this as p cube by q is equal to 3q square, which is absurd. Why? Because LHS is a fraction whereas RHS is an integer. So if you take LHS, p cube by q, p by q is a fraction, therefore p cube by q is also a fraction. But right hand side, q is an integer, so 3q square is an integer. So fraction is equal to integer, which is absurd. Since LHS is a fraction whereas RHS is an integer, thus we have a contradiction. Hence there is no rational number whose cube is 3. So this contradiction happened because we assumed that there exists a rational number whose cube is 3. So therefore that does not happen. There won't exist a rational number whose cube is 3, right? So we go to the next slide. Prove that between two different rational numbers there lie infinite number of rational numbers. So here it is a problem, of course, a theorem. Between two different rational numbers there will be infinitely many rational numbers. That is what you are going to prove. Of course, the same statement you can also make like this. Prove that set of rational numbers is dense. Set of rational numbers is dense. Dense means lot of concentration of numbers. That is nothing but infinite number of rational numbers. So proof of this theorem, listen. Let A and B be two different rational numbers with A less than B. Suppose you take two real rational numbers A and B. So one must be greater than the other. Let A be less than B. Now, what do you mean by A less than B? A less than B implies A plus A less than B plus A. So that is always implied from when A less than B, A is added to both sides. So A plus A will be less than B plus A. That implies 2A will be less than B plus A. So A less than A plus B by 2. You give a number to this equation 1. Also A less than B implies A plus B less than B plus B. So similarly this time you add B on both sides. A plus B less than B plus B implies A plus B less than 2B implies A plus B by 2 less than B. So this is equation 2. So from 1 and 2, what is 1 here? A less than A plus B by 2. So what is 2 here? A plus B by 2 less than B. So from 1 and 2 you have this inequality where A less than A plus B by 2 less than B. Since AB and 2 are rational numbers, A is a rational number, B is a rational number, 2 is also a rational number. So that suppose that A plus B by 2, which is a number between A and B, let it be taken as small r, say. So A plus B by 2 is equal to r is a rational number. Thus you can write A less than or less than B. So from this what is understood? Hence there exists a rational number r is equal to A plus B by 2 between A and B. So you have seen that between A and B there is a rational number A plus B by 2 r. Now r is a rational number and A is a rational number. A and r are two different rational numbers. So A and r are two different rational numbers, therefore you take r1 is equal to A plus r by 2. So this number again lies between A less than r1 less than r. Same logic, r1 lies between A and r. Again r and b are two different rational numbers such that r less than r2 less than b. So A less than r1 less than r, r less than r2 less than b. These two things are true. since R2 is equal to R plus B by 2. So finally, with this new R1 and R2, A less than R1 less than R less than R2 less than B. So first we have shown that there exists one rational number between A and B. Now there are three rational numbers between A and B, R1 or R2. So continuing like this, there lie infinitely many rational numbers between two rational numbers A and B. So if you continue like this, there will exist infinitely many rational numbers. So hence set of rational numbers is dense. So that means it is a conclusion that set of rational numbers is dense. Right. So my dear students, we have proved 2 to 3 theorems on real numbers. So from this it should be understood set of real numbers infinite, set of rational numbers are infinite, so many other things. Now you just it's a problem, define bounded above, bounded below and bounded. So you have to define these terms. Bounded above, so I think from the English language it is very clear, you can always understand what it is, bounded above, bounded below. So first I am going to define bounded above. A subset S of real numbers is said to be bounded above if there exists a real number capital M such that x less than or equal to m for all x belong to S. So remember, a subset S of real numbers is said to be bounded above if there exists a fixed number capital M such that x less than or equal to capital M for all small x belong to S. Then we say that the set is bounded above. M is called upper bound. As an example, the set of negative integers. So in right from minus infinity to minus 3, minus 2, minus 1, this set is bounded above by number minus 1. So set of negative integer is bounded above by number minus 1. In a way, minus 1 is called upper bound of the set. 2. Bounded below. A subset S of real numbers is said to be bounded below if there exists a real number small m such that x greater than or equal to small m. X greater than or equal to small m for all x belong to S. Here the small m is called lower bound. Previous case capital M is called upper bound and this case small m is called lower bound. So upper bound means in that set every element is below that set number. Lower bound means every element in that set above that element. So as an example, the set capital N 1, 2, 3 so on up to infinity set of natural numbers is bounded below and not bounded above. So set of natural numbers is not bounded above but it is bounded below and the lower bound is 1. So every number of natural number set is greater than 1. So 1 is lower bound. Now bounded above is discussed, bounded below is discussed. So what is finally bounded? A subset S of real numbers is said to be bounded. A subset S of real numbers is said to be bounded if there exist two real numbers capital M and small m such that small m less than or equal to x less than or equal to capital M for all x belong to S. Means there exist capital M and small m. They are such that every element of S will be in between these two numbers. Small m less than or equal to x less than or equal to capital M. And small m is called lower bound and capital M is called upper bound of the set. Small m is called lower bound, capital M is called upper bound of the set. So, in that case, subset S is said to be bounded. As an example, every finite set is bounded. Thank you, and we continue in the next class more important things.